As we saw recently in the electric-type Nuzlocke, Ampharos has a very easy time in Johto. We'll have to see if that stays the same now as we run it through Yellow. So today we're continuing our Yellow series of Pokémon in places where they don't belong, and it's time for the Ampharos line. This is going to be our first 3-stage evolution line running through Yellow. And before going into this one, I wasn't really too sure what to expect, but this proved to be a very interesting challenge. So let's now take a look at our stats. We're level 5 with 22 HP, we've got 10 in attack, speed and defense, and 11 in special, and our 2 moves are tackle and growl. Let's now get the challenge underway straight away by battling our rival for the first time, and this battle did not go too well. I'm not even sure it's winnable with a Mareep unless you get some very exceptional luck. We didn't, so we get the feint there, and that means the rival is going to have Vaporeon. And now as we're making our way towards Pewter City, there are a couple of bits I want to talk to you about. The first is something I don't do very often, but the next video that's coming out, at least in my opinion, is some of the best content we will see here on the channel in a very long time. So please do make sure you're subscribed if you don't want to miss that. And secondly, if you are really a fan of Ampharos, the wonderful Snowy also has an Ampharos video out today. They are doing it around Pokemon Crystal, and I think they're starting fully evolved, and from what I've heard, it is definitely not one to be missed. There'll be a link to that video down in the description if you want to watch it after this one. But now let's turn our attention back to the challenge at hand, and we have just made our way through Viridian Forest. We've learnt Thundershock, which is absolutely useless for Brock, so we've got no real choice but to get on the level grind even before attempting Brock. We'll get up to 15, we'll do an evolution, and then we'll get all the way up to 16 as well, and we'll see how we get on. I don't have high hopes for this first attempt, but you never know, we might see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. This is Brock, he leads with Geodude, and the plan here is to just growl and then tackle like our life depends on it. That really is the only way we're going to get through Brock, regardless of level. Because apart from tackle, we learn nothing via level up that can hit Brock. So for the first time in a very long time, I am actually thankful for having tackle on the learn set. If we didn't have tackle, this battle would have been even worse than it is now, and it'll come as no surprise that we did not get through the Onix. I'm doing something quite rare here, and I'm just going to skip through to the end of this battle, because it took a very long time, and nothing of interest happened. All that matters is we did eventually get knocked out, so we're going to have to take a reset. I do think we're onto something though with the growling strategy, and I think some strategic extra growls while Onix uses Bind is the way to go. So we'll now re-engage Brock in battle, and let's see if we get any further this time. And while this battle isn't a particularly clean battle, in fact it's one of the dirtiest battles I think we'll ever have together here on the channel, it does turn out that the strategy we were using was the right play to get through Brock. It's just going to take a very long time to do it. Onix has ridiculously high defense, we don't have particularly good attack, and combine that with the fact that this thing knows Bind, which will trap us for turns at a time, and you get a recipe for a very slow battle. And this battle really is foreshadowing of things to come. There is one type that's going to be our Achilles heel throughout the course of this challenge, and that is the ground type. And especially when you combine it with rock. So the Geodude line, the Rhyhorn line, and Onix are the 3 Pokemon lines we really have to watch out for in this one, because we can hit everything else for at least neutral damage. And while there are workarounds we can use for these lines, we're not going to see them until much later on in the challenge. For now, it's just tackle or bust. And despite Brock's attempts right at the very end here to take the win away from us with Bind, we break free, we finish off the Onix, and that means we've defeated Brock, we're out of Pewter City Purgatory in a time of 15 minutes and 2 seconds. And now the challenge is going to get significantly easier from here for a little bit. We're going to make our way through Mount Spoon, we pick up the Helix fossil this time, not that it really matters, and I've realised for the last 3 videos, I've forgotten to include the first encounter with this set of idiots. We've got Jesse, James and Meowth here. They aren't going to be any issue at all. It's 2 shots on Ekans, it's going to be a 1 shot on Meowth, and we'll finish off Coughing as well. And then despite this Zubat's wanting us to stay in Mount Moon for a little bit longer, we'll make our way out and we'll go straight into our second gym together. This is Misty. She's a water type trainer. We have an electric type Pokemon. I think we know what's coming here. We don't outspeed either of her Pokemon, but it's going to be 2 shots apiece. That is a very, very simple battle, a lot nicer than the Brock battle, and we get our next badge in 20 minutes and 26 seconds. So let's now head around the corner and take on the rival for a second time. And once again, we're going to be starting very easy here. He's going to lead with Spearow. We've got the type advantage. We knock it out in 1. Sandshrews, another pesky Pokemon we'll be seeing throughout the course of this challenge. Thank goodness it doesn't have the rock type behind it, so at least tackle runs neutral. We did get a lot of sand flung in our direction. It took a while to finally finish it off, but after a very long time, another tackle did eventually connect, and we can move on to Rattata. Thundershock misses, of course it misses. We've got very low accuracy at this point. We knock it out. We've just got Eevee left to go. As long as one more Thundershock hits, we should be good. That's exactly what happens. We'll finish off the rival for a second time, and we'll start making our way towards the SSN, where he's going to ambush us for a third time. Now, the good thing about heading towards the SSN is it means we're going to get Body Slam. That is going to be a huge upgrade over Tackle. It's still very early days in our time doing the yellow challenges, but already I'm seeing Body Slam as almost like an analogue for Headbutt in Generation 2, except of course it's got a little bit more base power and we paralyse instead of flinching. Now it's time for rival number 3, Thundershock's a one-shot like it was last time. We'll one-shot Rattata and now we can use Body Slam on the Sandshrew. It goes down in 1 and this is a much smoother battle. 4 one-shots to get us through rival 3, we'll evolve into Ampharos and then we'll learn Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is a huge upgrade over Thundershock, and it's actually powerful enough for me to consider using it in tandem with Thunderbolt, just to give us a little bit of extra attacking power points for some of those longer sections of the challenge. And talking of longer sections, we definitely don't have one of those coming up right about now. This is going to be Lieutenant Surge. He's only got 1 Pokemon. I'm sure we all know how this is going to go. Surge sends out Raichu, he growls at us, but we're just going to Body Slam 3 times and the match is done. Very, very simple, almost not worth keeping in. Lieutenant Surge in a time of 29 minutes and 25 seconds. Our reward for defeating Surge is Thunderbolt. We get it a lot earlier in this generation than we do in Generation 2. We're going to teach that straight away to Ampharos, then we'll make our way through Rock Tunnel and into Lavender Town, where we're going to face a rival for a 4th time. And once again, this is going to be a fairly simple affair. It's going to start off with a one-shot against Fearow. Same thing happens on Vulpix. We make mincemeat of Magnemite, and then something interesting happens against this Sandshrew. The rival uses a potion even though he was at full health at the beginning of the turn. That's one of the weird quirks of Generation 1. We'll finish off the Eevee and that was a nice and simple rival battle. And with that it's time to head west and we're going to take on the Rocket Underground section here in Celadon Game Corner. While that's playing out, I want to mention I am still a little bit sick. I'm sounding a lot worse than I'm feeling, but definitely still not 100%. I didn't want to delay these videos any longer than they had to be, which is why I'm doing the voiceovers now, and I'm just going to try and power through. So I really hope you can bear with me as my voice gets back up to full fitness, and now it's time to take on Giovanni. Body Slam's doing a fair bit against this Onix, it doesn't take too long to knock it out, and it does even more against the Rhyhorn. Very, very nice start to this battle. Persian's going to be no issue. He gives us a little bit of extra money to spend, and we are through Giovanni for the first time in just over 40 minutes. We'll pick up the Sylph Scope, and then before heading back to Lavender Town, we might as well try and take on Erica. Defeating her will give us access to Fly, which will make moving a lot easier. So let's see how we get on. She's going to lead with Tangela. I test the water a little bit here with Thunderbolts, but it doesn't do too much against Tangela. So we'll swap to Body Slam, and then it's just a few more hits to knock it out. Weeping Bell's next, that's a one-shot with Body Slam. It's going to be the same against the Gloom, and that is Erica all done and dusted in 42 minutes and 50 seconds. So let's now head back towards Lavender Town and we'll face those idiots again. And while that's going on, we'll have another brief interlude here. I really think I'm starting to find my pacing in this particular generation. It's definitely a lot different to the pacing in Generation 3 Kanto. And one of the big issues I had with Fire Red content is that I was never quite sure how to pace it. There wasn't that same rhythm you get in a Generation 2 game, and this feels much more like Generation 2, so I instantly felt a lot more at home doing the edit for Yellow than I did for Fire Red or even Emerald for that matter, and I really hope it's showing because I'm having a lot of fun in Yellow. Definitely a lot more fun than I ever thought I would have in this generation, and part of me is wondering why the hell I waited almost 2.5 years to get a Yellow series going. Anyway, let's now take on Koga. He's going to be our 5th gym leader together. He's a poison type specialist, and he's got 4 bugs on his team. It's going to be 3 Venonat and a Venomoth. We're not able to one-shot the first Venonat, but then something strange happens. We get one-shots for every single one of his other Pokémon. I'm not quite sure on the damage ranges yet for Generation 1, but I'm not going to complain there. That was a very, very simple Koga battle, time of 48 minutes and 59 seconds. So let's now head back to Saffron City, where we're going to take on the 5th and penultimate rival battle. And this battle really is the big leap in difficulty for the Yellow Challenge. It's all very smooth sailing up until this point, but then this one has the potential to screw you over. We got very lucky with the body slam paralysis there, and that means we can move on to Magneton. I'm very thankful that the Steel type doesn't exist yet because that makes Magneton an absolute breeze. We'll one-shot the Ninetales, and then we've got Kadabra and Vaporeon left to go. It's 2 simple one-shots to finish off the battle. We're through Rival 5 on our first try in 51 minutes and 3 seconds. Our reward for that is a Lapras who'll help us get to Cinnabar Island as well as getting through Victory Road. And now as this lot are back for no good reason for one last time, I do just want to pull back to that rival battle. I've a feeling, I might have made a little bit of a misplay by declining Light Screen there. Even now after the fact, I'm not 100% sure if that was the right thing to do. But there are a couple of places coming up later on where Light Screen would have helped. I'm just not sure if it was too circumstantial to help with the overall time. If you want to play Ampharos yourself, by the way, and see if Light Screen does help, the patch is available on the website tradersquidgy.com. Just click on the yellow tab and you will get access to all of the backports we do together here on the channel. Now we're facing Giovanni yet again. We don't have anything great for the Rhyhorn, but we do survive. We'll body slam the Nidoqueen. We end up getting paralysed, but we paralyse her straight back, and that gives us the in we need to knock her out to get through this battle. So we'll let the CEO of Silphco know that he's all good to go now for whatever he's doing in this building. We don't really care. We're getting out of there, and we're going to go and have a little chat with the Copycat Girl. This is somebody who is very important in Generation 1. She gives us the Mimic TM, and Mimic works very differently in Generation 1 to Generation 2, because instead of copying the last move on the field, we're going to be able to pick a move to Mimic instead, and that will come in very handy for certain battles later on. And in hindsight, I think the best learn set for this Ampharos would have been Thunderbolt, Mimic, Body Slam and Light Screen. Now we are taking on Sabrina. This should be a fairly simple affair. We're through her first 2 Pokemon. Alakazam goes deep into the red. We're going to get her caught in a little bit of a healing loop. We'll finish her off with a Thunderbolt. We grow to level 45, and we get our 6th badge in 54 minutes and 21 seconds. So let's now head back to Pallet Town. We'll surf south and we'll make our way towards Cinnabar Island. Cinnabar Island is where our 7th and penultimate gym is going to be. This is going to be Blaine's gym. Now Blaine is going to be a little bit problematic in this one. And the reason for that is our lack of speed comes into play here. We've got great stats in everything barring speed, and that means we don't outspeed the Ninetales. It beats us up with Confuse Ray and Flamethrower, and we really are getting nowhere in this battle, especially because Thunderbolt is a 3-shot, and then when the Rapidash comes out to play, it is all over from there. So we're going to get some levels now just from the trainers here in the gym, and we'll see if we do any better up at level 47. So for the second time, this is Blaine, and he leads with Ninetales. I really wish we had held items in this game. This would have made this battle a lot easier as well. We don't get confused by the Ninetales though, and that brings us on to Rapidash. Takedown and the Thunderbolt is enough to knock that out in 1. We survive a Fire Blast and we hit very hard. We get through Blaine on our next attempt in a time of 59 minutes and 32 seconds. Unfortunately for poor Ampharos though, the gyms don't get any easier now. We have one last gym to go, but it's Giovanni who's the ground-type leader. He leads with a fast ground-type Pokemon, and if we know anything about our type matchups, fast ground types versus slow electric types is a recipe for disaster. We're going to try mimicking Earthquake here in this battle, because that's going to give us the best chance to get through the 2 Nidos. We've got to get to them first though, and that was a struggle in and of itself. We have to get very lucky with the RNG just to get past the Dugtrio. Earthquake's going to hit like a truck either way. When we eventually get through the Dugtrio, Persian's next. We know that we can one-shot that with Thunderbolt. Out comes Nidoqueen, we can outspeed it, and we one-shot it with Earthquake. But then Nidoking comes to ruin our day, and we're going to have to get more levels again. And this gym battle really was the undoing of poor Ampharos. We had a very, very good run between Misty and here, but Giovanni does show that Ampharos has a huge weakness. And in direct contrast to Generation 2, where there isn't actually a ground-type specialist at all, when you play with an electric-type Pokemon like Ampharos in a game where there's no hidden power and there are plenty of ground-type users, suddenly a Pokemon that can be ranked among the very best in one game starts to lag behind in another game, and that is exactly what has happened to poor Ampharos here. We don't have the type coverage we need to get through some of these battles easily, so when we hit these walls, we are left with no option but to go out into the wild and try and find some Pokemon to do the grind against. We are now up to level 51, let's see if we do any better this time. We're still going to be relying on a lot of luck because we don't outspeed the Dugtrio, but I am hoping that once we're through Dugtrio, we'll be able to outspeed the Nidoking, and this battle should hopefully be a lot easier. We're still going to mimic Earthquake, that's definitely the best play, and we also know that we can survive one non-critical hit Earthquake from Dugtrio. We know as well that it's going to be a one-shot with Thunderbolt on Persian, so that's completely irrelevant. We also know that Nidoqueen is not a threat. She goes down, Nidoking comes out, and now we outspeed. We knock it out, we grow to level 52, we one-shot Rhydon, and we are through Giovanni to obtain our next badge, the Earth Badge, in a time of 1 hour, 6 minutes and 55 seconds. And with that, we have all 8 gym badges acquired. Let's start heading towards Victory Road, and we're going to get ambushed by the rival for one last time. This time he leads with Sandslash, and would you believe, it's another fast ground type. We end up paralysing it, and then I misclick on Mimic here. We learn Swift, it might end up being useful. We'll use Swift, but it does next to nothing against Sandslash. Body Slam does a lot more damage, we get through the Sandslash. We'll continue Body Slamming against the Execute, it goes down in one shot. We'll use Body Slam on Magneton, it's another one hit there. We'll swap to Thunderbolt for Ninetales, and now we have a very simple end to the battle. We survive Kadabra's Psychic to take it down in one, and then the last Pokemon is Vaporeon. We use another 2 Thunderbolts to finish it off, and with that, we can finally enter into the Indigo Plateau. So the first thing we're going to do here is heal up whether we need to or not, and then we will say thank you to the HM friends. So in Generation 1, it's a very big thank you to Kenya, to Abra, to Lapras, and merci to Paris. You've all been a great help in this challenge. Get yourselves some well-deserved rest, and I'm sure we'll catch up in the very next one. We'll get our full restores, we'll either need them or we won't, and now let's take a look at our stats going into the league. We are level 53 with 193 HP, we've got 120 in attack, 117 in defense, 100 in speed, 132 in special, and then our learn set is Thunderbolt, Mimic, Body Slam and Thunder Wave. Still regretting not having light screen on there, to be honest. Anyway, our first league member is Lorelei. She is an Ice-type specialist with a penchant for water types as well, and she leads with Dugong. We're going to use Thunderbolt against the Dugong, knock it out in 2, Cloyster goes down in 1, and here comes Slowbro. It's yet another one-shot as the Jinx comes out. Jinx locks herself into Thrash, we'll take care of her with a single Thunderbolt. Lapras doesn't stand a chance either, and we are through Lorelei and moving on to Bruno. And this is one of those battles where Generation 1 Mimic comes in clutch. We are going to Mimic Dig off this Onix, and then we're going to use it against it. That will take the Onix down in just 2 shots, and we can move on to Hitmonchan. We'll use Thunderbolt on both of the Hitmons, and they both go down in 1 shot. We will swap back to Dig for Onix number 2, and then we finally got Machamp. Machamp's going to be a simple Thunderbolt to finish it off, and with Bruno defeated we can move ourselves on to Agatha. And this is not one of my best battles. It's definitely a dirty battle where I misclick a few times, but then Agatha's AI is so all over the place that it's very hard to keep up. But the big mistake here was not replenishing our power points for Thunderbolt. We end up down to 3 as we're onto her Arbok. She swaps straight into Gengar, and it's not even going to be a 3-shot against Gengar. However, we are carrying Generation 1 Mimic on our learn set, and that means that we can Mimic Psychic. That will give us the in we need for the rest of this battle. She withdraws again for no good reason. We knock out the Arbok, we knock out the Gengar, and we are through Agatha in a time of 1:13.54, and we can move ourselves onto Lance the Liar with some flyers. And this is one of those battles where my inexperience in Generation 1 really shows. I didn't know what each of these Dragonair had on their learn set, so I clicked Mimic hoping that this would have Ice Beam, but it just had Thunderbolt in its place. As it turns out, it was going to be moot anyway because we didn't have any PP for Mimic, and then we do end up taking a bit of an unnecessary reset against Lance, partly because of misplaying, and partly because this Aerodactyl comes out and crits us with Hyper Beam. Not really sure playing better could have solved that particular issue. And then our next attempt is broadly similar, except we don't have the Mimic misplay. We really are getting a little bit walled by Lance at the moment, and it's all because of that pesky Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl's got a lot of speed, so it's going to have a very high critical hit ratio, and that will mean that Hyper Beam will just ruin our day. We're going to use a couple of rare candies now and get ourselves up to level 58, and we'll see if we do any better this time. One thing I also realised I should be doing after I use the rare candies is that we should be picking up Ice Beam from these Dragonair. That will make the Dragonite an awful lot easier. So we'll use Ice Beam straight away against this Dragonair. Here comes Aerodactyl, it uses Swift instead of Hyper Beam. We'll one-shot with Thunderbolt, we'll use Ice Beam against the Dragonite, and we are through Lance in a time of 1 hour 16 minutes and 28 seconds. And with that, we have just one obstacle between us and the Hall of Fame. It is, of course, time for our rival Punctuation, and he leads with Sandslash. And what would you know? The same issues we had at Giovanni, we're going to have with this Sandslash as well. This is definitely going to be the wall of this battle. I think once we're through Sandslash, we should have a very smooth ride. We've just got to get there first. We are going to use as many rare candies as it takes. We picked up, I believe, 7 throughout the course of this challenge. We're going to put in the last of our rare candies now, and I think we're just going to have to do a very similar strategy to Magcargo. We're going to be playing for the Body Slam paralysis here, and eventually it will happen. We've just got to brute force our way through. The one big thing we have over Magcargo is we are critical hitting an awful lot more than we were in that challenge, and especially because we don't have any badge boost moves, that will work in our favour. We are actually looking for critical hits here. The best case scenario is a paralysis with a critical hit, but we will absolutely take either a paralysis or a critical hit on their own. We eventually paralysed this Sandslash on turn 1, and here is the luck we needed. It stayed fully paralysed for all those turns. We're on full health for the Alakazam. Kinesis does lower our accuracy though, so that means we've got to be a little bit careful. We one-shot with Body Slam on the Executor, we one-shot the Ninetales, we've only got Magneton and Vaporeon left to go, and here is where the accuracy drops start to come into play. So we will mimic Swift. We're going to use Swift because it's going to hit all the time. If we can get through the Magneton in half-decent shape, we stand a very good chance for the Vaporeon. Thunderbolt connects first try, we grow to level 65, and we defeat the rival in a time of 1 hour 23 minutes and 33 seconds. And that time of 1 hour 23:33 places us in 3rd place on the leaderboard. We're definitely middle of the road compared to where we would be in Crystal, but I'm still very happy with that challenge. Ampharos is a great Pokemon when it excels, but it definitely does have its weaknesses. But with that, we are done. So I really hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have, make sure to leave a like. If you've got any feedback, leave it in the comments down below. Subscribe if you want to see more. And until next time when we've got a very special Nuzlocke, I'll say thank you all so much for watching. It's been a pleasure as always. And I'll see you all very soon.